Hey there! In today's video, we'll give you ideas on how to politely interrupt the presenter while speaking, in order to ask your question without being rude. If the meeting is live, before asking a question, raise your hand and wait for the presenter to acknowledge you before asking your question. It's courteous to start by apologizing to the speaker. Here are some examples of how to apologize. Excuse me. I'm sorry to interrupt. Or, please excuse me for interrupting. And now you should say that you have a question. Our first example is by saying, "May I interject for a moment with a question?" Use this when you want to ask a question but also want to signal that you understand you're interrupting. Our second example is, "I hope you don't mind if I ask a question at this point." Use this when you want to express that you understand you're interrupting but feel your question is relevant. Our third example is, "If I could just ask a quick question about what you just said." This can be utilized when you want to emphasize that your question will be brief and to the point. Another example is, "Could I take a moment to ask a question about what you've just covered?" This is also an appropriate expression to request permission to ask a question. "I'd like to pose a question if I may," is another short and polite example. "I'm not sure I fully understood something you said earlier." You can use this when you want to show respect and also signal that you're seeking clarity. Our final example is, "Before you move on, could I ask a question about what you just presented?" And now it's time to ask your question. If you're not sure whether it's an appropriate time to ask your question, wait until a break or the end of the presentation to ask. Thank you for watching this video on how to interrupt a presenter politely to ask something. Interrupting someone can be challenging, but by using polite and respectful language, you can ask your questions while still showing consideration for the presenter and the audience. Remember to be brief and to the point, and to avoid interrupting the presenter mid-sentence. By following these tips, you can confidently ask your questions and engage in productive discussions. Thank you for watching, and we hope you found this video helpful.